Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here, and today we find ourselves in New York City, where you're trying to have presence to score points in as many areas as you can in the borough where and when mayhem triggers. But you'll be one of 4 different factions as the Grendel, the Mob, the Police, and the Argent, which all play very differently. Grendel is for 1 to 4 players, takes 30 minutes per player to play, is for ages 14 and up, and published by Off the Page Games. Now it's being crowdfunded right now, so I'm going to show you how the game works, and I'll see you on the other side. This is a crowdfunding preview, so all the art and components you see here are not final. These are prototypes. To see the most up-to-date art and components, check the link in the description of this video. Now here I have the 4-player side of the board, and I have it constructed for a 4-player game. Now regardless of how many players you're playing with, all 4 factions will all start on the board, and the factions that players aren't playing with are there to sort of clog up the boards and make things more interesting and places to do things where you normally wouldn't if you had less players. And as you can see, you have the different boroughs of New York. We have Manhattan and Queens and Brooklyn, and they're going to start spread out around the different areas within those boroughs. Now there's 4 different factions. There's the Grendel, the Mob, the Police, and the Argent. And each of these play differently, very differently, and they score differently. But this is how it might look like after you have set up. Now on the upper right, you can see this scoreboard, and you're trying to have the most points at the end of the game. The game is over 3 different rounds. Each round goes through 2 different phases: the planning phase, then the mayhem phase. Now the 3 main areas of the board are depicted as Manhattan, Queens, and Brooklyn. Each of them have a tower. Each player also will have some aggression down here, like the red player, the Grendel player. Everyone has 1s, 2s, and 3s. And over the course of the game, you're going to be able to add aggression to the different towers. Now notice that the 3 is the smallest and the 1 is the largest. The 1 is actually the heaviest one. Now as players begin to add aggression like this to the towers, they'll be adding all sorts of different sizes, different weights. They're going to be coming from different players. And some of them are going to be filling up faster than others, and at some point, depending on the amount of players, a certain amount is going to cause a counterweight to drop, and this is now going to trigger the mayhem. Now you'll notice this says for 4 players, because it scales for players. There's actually different counterweights you put in there for different player counts to scale the game. So as soon as this tower goes through like this, then it's going to go from the planning phase to the mayhem phase. So at the end of that player's turn that triggered it, you would lift this up, you would see all the aggression that was in there, and then you would go to that mayhem phase. Now I'm going to show you some example turns during the mayhem phase, but generally speaking, you're going to be punching each other and playing cards to try to gain points by gathering different areas. Now this one was Queens that dropped. And notice that the Queens is this color, and it matches the color of this borough here. Now with the aggression that came out of that tower, players are going to be taking mayhem turns, spending 3 aggression at a time to take turns. And when a player runs out of their aggression, they're going to then score. So players are going to be doing things, then scoring when they run out of their aggression, which may happen at different times depending on the player and how much aggression they had that tower. But even though you're going to score at the end of running out of aggression, and that timing can change, I'm just going to show you how things score, because each faction scores differently. Now the Grendel, they put out fear tokens. And they're going to score for each region in the tower that's triggering. In this case, we're looking at Queens here. Any place that has one. So they're going to score for this one, and they're going to score for this one. And again, this is all just assuming that they just finished their aggression. The Argent is going to score in areas where they have ambush tokens. So they're going to score for this one and this one. Notice that these 2 are here. They both scored for this. However, if there's ever 3 or more factions in a certain area, nobody scores. So no one would score for this one if that were the case. The Mob scores where they have 2 different mob pieces. And you have the captain and you have the grunts. So in this area, they have 2 different ones, and so they would score in this one. And the Police, they score in areas where they have more pieces than another faction. So right now they wouldn't score anything because it's 3 to 3. But if this was like this, then they would score in this one, and actually the Mob would too, because they have 2 different pieces, and the Police have more pieces there. Now each player has their own player aid, which also goes over how each of the factions score as well. Now that you know what you're trying to do, and how and when things score, let's talk about what you'll be doing in these different phases, and each faction does things differently. So in the planning phase, let's go over at a very high level, generally speaking, the different things that each faction can do. Now the Grendel has a bag, and they have some token chits in there. And at the beginning, they're going to draw out 3 chits. And in this case, I am showing you all 3 different chits. You have a shock fork, you have speed, and you have the hunter rose. Then you'll be placing one of those in the leftmost vacant spot in any of the 3 sections. You're going to be taking the action below it, and then anything to the left of it. Like in this case, I get to draw a card. Cards allow you to do all sorts of different things, like moving fear tokens 2 spaces away, and the cards let you do a lot of different things. So if I did the next one here, I would do this, which essentially is sliding one of those fear tokens that's anywhere on the map to an adjacent space, but then I also get to do this and draw a card, so you got a little bit of engine building going there. Now if I match this, I get a kicker. In this case, I get to add an aggression to a tower of my choice. I could do that here. Another kicker is, bringing another chit in and swapping one, giving you some more flexibility, mitigating the luck there. I'm not going to go over all the actions, but you can be moving around, luring pieces around, defending your pieces, and doing things like that. Now, if you ever fill up a row, you get to discard one of these, and you get to take any 2 upgrade tiles. These are essentially the same types of actions, but they're wild colors, so you'll always get the kicker when you play them. You'll take all these, and you'll put them, essentially it's like a bag building, so you're going to be adding to your pool, hopefully better ones over the course of the game. Essentially, that's how you take your turns until you're done with all your 3 chits. Now with the mob, you have 4 dice, you're going to roll them, and you're going to allocate them. You can allocate any die to recruit, where you're going to be drawing a card. Cards do all sorts of different things for the mob, like choosing one, discarding a grunt to replace with a captain, or replace with a corruption token. All different things you can do with cards, but you also get to place a captain and 4 grunts anywhere you have presence, and you can split them up if you want to. You could choose to run the racket, any die can go here, and at the beginning of the game, you can either choose to take any die you haven't placed and turn it to any side, or draw a card. You'll be able to unlock other actions as the game goes on. When you place dice here, you'll do the action that it has to do. Like this is extort and this is cleanup, and these allow you to do all different things. Now keep in mind, I'm showing all 4 dice here just for teaching purposes, but on your turn, you're only going to use 3 of the 4 dice. The 4th dice you do nothing with. Patrol allows you to move a captain up to 3 adjacent spaces away, and it can take other mob figures with them as they want, and they can drop them off as well. Extorting is taking one of your corruption tokens and placing it on the board where you have presence, now unlocking a new action. Cleaning up allows you to degrade an influence token of another player if you have presence there. And bribing is to take a die and flip it to any side that you want, and then adding aggression to a tower in a place that you have presence. And each of these actions can also be upgraded as well. The police use a rondel to do action selection. They can move 1 or 2 wedges clockwise and then take an action that's here. You'll do the action, and then you'll take your other car and move it 1 or 2, for example, jumping over anywhere that it is and doing the different actions. So these allow you to do all sorts of different things, like moving a captain up to 2 spaces away, picking up and dropping off other police figures as they want. Or adding a captain and 2 grunts to places where you have presence. You can split them up. Or drawing a card, and the police have their own cards that do all sorts of different things too, like move all pieces of a faction to an adjacent space from a space where you have presence. Or adding aggression to the tower that you have presence in. Or adding a wagon to a place you have presence in, and these become jails. Now, if both your police cars are in adjacent wedges, you can arrest. And you'll be arresting pieces that's in the same space as one of your other pieces. Like I might arrest this fear token here, and that allows me to place a grunt out. But you can only have 1 piece from each faction, so if I got another one of those, I'd have to release that one back out. And while you have someone in that jail, that action becomes better. So this action now becomes this action. I can do a captain and 3 grunts instead of a captain and 2 grunts. And so this is the way that you upgrade your actions. Now the Argent plays a little pressure luck game. He's going to start flipping these, and some of these cards are going to have skulls on them. And at some point, he's going to get close to having 4, and he might want to stop. You can banish a card, meaning I won't be able to take the action on it, but I don't count that skull. And as you start flipping these, look at this, I have 4. If I ever have 4, I have busted. Now, if this spot was open, I could banish this and then keep going. But if I bust here, not only do I have to remove a card to get down to less than 4 skulls, but there's a bonus here where if I stopped like this and did not bust, in addition to the actions I'll be able to take, I can also add some aggression to one of the towers. But if I bust, if I got 4 and I busted, well, I don't get that action, and I have to reduce this down to less than 4. So maybe I discard down and I have these actions I can take. Now you can take the action on the card, or you can place a card on one of the slots on your board and take that action. Like this one with the 3 boots there, that allows you to move your Argent up to 3 adjacent spaces away, or spend 2 of those movements to jump to any space where you have one of your ambush tokens. This allows you to punch a grunt if it's in the location of your Argent, and essentially allowing you to place one of your ambush tokens, which again is how you score. This allows you to upgrade a card, which is take one of these upgraded cards, there's 3 showing, add it to the top of your draw deck, and then replenish the upgrade pile. So that's a way that you can upgrade your actions. Now players are going to be taking turns in clockwise order, doing these different actions during the planning phase, again until the aggression triggers one of these at the end of that turn, then you go to the mayhem phase. Now remember, when this is pulled up, there's a lot of different people that may have those aggression tokens here, and you're going to be using those to take actions. Now you can also discard cards to gain aggression if you want to, but then you'll start in the mayhem phase. Now you'll have your aggression here totaled from what was from that tower. Remember, you're going to take 3 aggression actions, and each player has a player aid. The back side of this shows you what they can specifically do for those mayhem. So you're going to spend 3 aggression per turn, and there's a certain amount of things you could do. Like for 1 aggression, you can punch to attack a grunt, 1 to attack a captain, it costs 3. Or 2 of them to degrade a token, which essentially is removing it, or if it's shielding it, unshielding it. Or maybe to play a card, where this one would cost 1 to move 1 fear token up to 2 spaces away, for example. Now the rewards for these things, like the punches, differ depending on the faction you're playing with, and it has to do with the way they score. Like fear tokens for Grendel, and ambush tokens for Argent, and so on and so forth. But you're tracking your aggression, and once you've done 3, then it's the next player's turn. Now this shows me that I actually have 3 left, and when I get to here, that's when I'm going to score the board as I showed you at the beginning of the game. Now once the mayhem phase ends, the tower that was scored, essentially that triggered the aggression, is removed from the game. It can't be triggered again. Now let's say Manhattan's the next one to trigger, and you go through mayhem, and then that one's gone. And let's say the last one is Brooklyn, and this gets triggered, and then this one's gone. After that, the other 2 regions, which are the first 2 that triggered, score again, those other 2 boroughs. So Queens and Manhattan will score again. After Brooklyn goes, you go through the mayhem phase and you score Brooklyn, the other 2 will score again. That means that 2 of the 3 boroughs will score twice. The last tower to be removed and to trigger will only score once, and that really changes the scoring and what you're trying to do in the strategic parts of the game. At a very high level, that's how you play Grendel. Whoever has the most points at the end of that 3rd round is the winner.
Well, there you have Grendel, and as I showed in the overview, you'll be one of 4 factions as the police, or the mob, or the Argent, or the Grendel, with each of them playing very differently and trying to utilize their actions and skills to best position themselves for the mayhem phase to score and win. Now, if you'd like to see the most up-to-date art and components and all the different pledge levels available, you can click the link directly below me right in the description of this video. Now that's going to bring you right to the crowdfunding project page, and I'm sure that Off the Page Games would love your support.